I have chosen opening title sequences from 5 different genres that I'm going to break down in the following post. The first movie I've picked for my action genre is Mission Impossible 1996, directed by Brian De Palma. This opening sequence follows a fuse burning down to what we assume to be some sort of explosive. This is a good indicator of the fast-paced, high-stakes action movie to follow. We can tell that Mission Impossible is going to be an action movie due to the loud, fast-paced music and the quick cutaways to action. The title sequence presents villains through images of their files being read by our spy protagonists in extreme close-up. The rising music and the fuse burning down creates rising tension as the sequence goes on, again giving a taste of the rising tension in the movie to come. I think this opening is a good job at showing the audience the type of movie Mission Impossible is and would appeal to the probably younger demographic that the production team are targeting. For a war movie, I chose the 1963 film The Great Escape, starring Steve McQueen and directed by John Sturges. We don't meet any characters in the opening of this movie. Instead, we follow, using wide, stationary and panning shots, the process of army vehicles along remote country roads. We can tell this is a war movie because of the prominent marching beat music playing over the titles. However, contrary to the action expected in most war films, this film isn't so much about the battle aspect of World War II. This is shown in the opening sequence by the slow-paced fade transition shots the audience is shown. I think this title sequence does well, even without presenting characters, at showing the unusual type of war movie The Great Escape is. In Nia DaCosta's Candyman 2021, which is my chosen horror, she also decides not to present characters in her opening titles. Like The Great Escape, the camera tracks vehicles. However, unlike that movie, the camera doesn't track specific vehicles, instead tracking down a busy city motorway through the use of a continuous aerial shot. The eerie, disconcerting music accompanying the clip is the biggest indication of the horror genre Candyman falls into. It is a mixture of slightly annoying noises like alarms and odd, indiscernible human voice, and it makes the audience feel uncomfortable, foreshadowing the uncomfort of the rest of the movie. While this is a good opening to the movie, I think it could be made better by revolving around more of a focus, like a specific vehicle, in order to intrigue the audience and to hook them straight away. My fourth movie is from the thriller genre, and I picked Vertigo, 1958, directed by Alfred Hitchcock and starring James Stewart. This sequence begins with an extreme close-up, moving around the features of a young woman's face before settling on her eye. The camera ends up seeming to zoom into her eye, where there is lots of swirly shapes. Behind the rest of the titles, lots of mesmerizing, slightly hypnotic shapes and patterns move up against a black background. Finally, the camera seems to zoom out back to the extreme close-up of the woman's eye for the final credit. The music playing over this is fast and exciting, getting the audience excited to watch Vertigo. I think this opening scene works really well, hooking the audience into the film without giving too much information away off the bat. Finally, for the sci-fi genre, I chose the 1985 film Back to the Future, directed by Robert Zemeckis. I think this is the best opening sequence of my 5 and does an excellent job at setting up the story and foreshadowing the events to come, as well as introducing the audience to some characters. The majority of the scene is comprised of a continuous panning shot accompanied by no music, only diegetic sounds, around a cluttered room full of clocks, which is an excellent hint at the time travel to come, as well as various wacky machine inventions, which introduces us nicely to the character of Doc, without us actually seeing him. We do also see Marty McFly, however, never actually his face, only him looking around the room, giving us a sense of his inquisitive personality, eventually leading him to fiddle around the speaker-based invention that results in him getting knocked back into some shelves. All very different in many ways and show clearly the genre their movies belong to, but all had in common the leaving, even if just subtly, an unanswered question for the audience to want to watch the film to find answers to. In my opinion, Back to the Future was the most successful at giving a good indication of story to come whilst not actually starting in the story yet. Candyman, I thought, had the worst opening title sequence, though still pretty good, not giving enough substance to raise much intrigue into the movie.